It's the end of the decade. What the hell, time? The Oughties, as I'm going to keep calling them, so you better get used to it, was a bit of a fallow period for graphic design in general, with everything being clean and spare and lowercase and cautious to the point of bland. I genuinely believe that going from this to this is what really did for MFI. Television idents were no different, usually being live action, often featuring celebrities, and often eschewing the very concept of an integrated symbol or central pivot in favour of mood and theme, or in practical terms caution to the point of blandness. We did 2000 last time, so I'm going to jump straight into 2001, and BBC One's offering The Last Hurrah for the Balloon. Created, of course, by Aardman Animations and directed by Stephen Marjoram, they were almost oppressively jolly. Quite surprisingly so, in fact, considering how monumentally depressing the year had been. Arthur C. Clarke always said his one overriding ambition was to live to see what really happened in the year 2001. As it turned out, he needn't have bothered. Meanwhile, over on 2, just over a month before Christmas, the ident package that had been around in one form or another for over a decade was scrapped. The logo, the little 2, would stay the same, only now it was a robot who lived in a sort of infinite yellow void. The idents themselves are likeable enough, but the format is so restrictive, it's almost as though Red Bee Media, the in-house graphic design company of the BBC that actually makes these things, were actually testing their own creativity. The first big test came a little over a month later, with the first Christmas ident under the new format. It's actually quite charming. The following year, BBC One followed suit with their new ident package, dropping the globe for the first time since probably the Batwings, and replacing it with probably the most controversial set of idents in British history: the dancers. Personally, I always thought they were pleasant but weak, especially as idents. In the latter half of the 80s and the early 90s, the BBC used to create increasingly lavish designs for their trailer packages every season. Here's Summer 1990s look, for example. As one of these, the dancers would have worked perfectly well. As an ident, not so much. There was no symbol. The only unifier was the concept of dance, and the tune da 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 da. Not enough, especially for a flagship channel. ITV celebrity ones later that same year were even worse, of course, but they didn't get a gigantic hate campaign against them because they're not the BBC. Anyway, if these idents were weak the year round, what on earth was going to happen at Christmas? Well, as it turned out, they distinguished themselves. You can't deny that's cute. Before the news, it was slowed down to walking pace. Over on BBC Two, history was being made, as last year's Christmas ident was brought back for a second run. This time running concurrently with a brand new one for 2002, featuring the increasingly grating 2-bot making a Snow 2. But this was a portent of things to come. And in 2003, BBC One gave us exactly the same thing as last year, making it official. Entertaining the viewers was now secondary to maintaining brand recognition. I mean, even when they were doing snowflakes every other year in the late 70s and early 80s, at least there were different snowflakes every time. At least BBC Two gave us some variety in 2003, with the idents for Ought 1 and Ought 2 back in circulation again, accompanied by this kinetic little thing. The restrictions of the format are really starting to show by now, though. By 2004, BBC One appeared to have learnt its lesson. Acknowledging that the Christmas ident was a thing that people cared about, they hosted a competition on legendary kids programme Blue Peter to create a special Kiddywink designed Christmas ident. This is the winner, this is her idea, And this is how it turned out. See? Kids know how to do Christmas idents. Leave it to the kids. We didn't have a competition like that in 1987. I would have bloody won that as well. Anyway, while BBC One recaptured the Oughties show in 2004, BBC Two lost it completely, failing to commission a Christmas ident at all and simply showing the last three all over again. The lesson was learned, although the damage was irreversible, by 2005, which saw both BBC channels having unique new Christmas idents for the first time in like 1 billion years or something. The BBC kept faith with the Kiddywink theme, with an ident that suggested that somebody at Red Bee Media wanted a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory DVD in his stocking. Whereas BBC Two for the first time got rid of the idents they've been using in rotation, and instead gave us this awesome glittery artefact, which played something like the 2001 one in reverse. Come 2006, it was all changed once again on BBC One, as the dancers had their last waltz and were replaced by a deceptively similar but far stronger set of idents. Crucially, these ones had an actual symbol, albeit a deliberately vague and impressionistic one. A circle, or the impression of one, in the middle of the screen. The way to Christmasise this was obvious. It's a very nice ident, although it could stand to be a bit brighter and more demonstrative. But of course that's not how things work these days. And BBC Two? It has been boldly stated quite recently that BBC Two is very low priority, especially compared to BBC One, which is why they can't be bothered to make new Christmas idents for it, and instead just reuse the previous years ad nauseam. This year's BBC Two Christmas look, which we'll see in a moment, is now being deployed for the third time running. I suggest you write to your MP. Or Anne Robinson, maybe. 2007 comes after 2006, unless you're counting backwards, and BBC One gave us penguins. Everybody loves penguins. Anyone who says he doesn't love penguins is either a liar or a shuddering failure. This ident actually proved so popular that they eventually airbrushed out the tree, or maybe the tree was added in post-production to the Christmas version. It's hard to tell, but anyway, sans tree, it became a winter staple in its own right. BBC Two, meanwhile, had regenerated again earlier in the year. The theme was now Windows on the World, or alternatively, big two-shaped holes in things. They actually turned out a lot better than we could reasonably have hoped, combining the go-anywhere creative energy of the classic Two era in the 90s with the live-action stateliness that is the mode at the moment. There were a lot of Christmassy possibilities, and the one they went with turned out to be arguably the best Christmas ident for either BBC channel since 2000. Reminiscent of both the TWO era and the Imperial phase of the Two, this is great stuff. So great, in fact, that they actually haven't made another Christmas ident since. We saw it again last year, we'll see it again this year. As the BBC themselves put it, we have top created a new Christmas idents for BBC Two this year. Christmas is a bigger moment in the year for the BBC One brand, while the set of idents BBC Two used for Christmas 2007 still fits with our brand position and therefore offers the best value for money. None of that matters. What the viewers want is what matters. And the viewers want fresh, new, and fun. Not the same thing over and over again because it fits in with your brand position. Here's a secret. They're not brands to us. They're television channels. None of your branding speak means anything in our context. And our context is the one that matters because you are a television company. Anyway, true to their word, BBC One is more important than BBC Two. Last year they gave us Wallace and Gromit. This year, this ident is totally canonical. Merry Christmas.